never made it, but I know what it takes. I'm motivated by a mix of emotion. Got my statement, and I'm reading it slow so I can understand it fully. Appreciate my standing, go out of this world and right on time. Oh, never in my life have I seen the sky light up like this. I'm far away from Earth and I wanna know if you exist. Mission control, do you read me? Send me my coordinates lately. Mission control, am I drifting? Tie me to someone who will love me, yeah. Wait, I think I'll last a bit longer. Fine.
Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd Family a part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. Hopefully everybody enjoyed their weekend, and hopefully you're looking at Monday from a different perspective and a different point of view than normal. And I say that because most people, for whatever reason, hate Mondays. I've never understood it. I'm hitting on 40 years old, and I still don't understand it. In all my whole-born days, back to childhood, early adulthood, and now the Middle Ages, I have never hated Mondays. I don't get the meaning behind why people hate it, but for whatever reason, most folks do. So what happens is, since you already hate Mondays, most people by Saturday night or Sunday morning are saying, man, it's going to be Monday again before we know it. So, of course, you're already going to hate that Monday because it hasn't gotten here yet, and you're already dreading it. So from now on, instead of saying, man, it's going to be Monday again before long, why don't we say, you know what? It's about to be Monday again. It gives me another week that I have the ability to work. It gives me another week of living to spend time with my family and friends. And if we kick off Monday thinking on a positive note instead of a negative note, it might make those of us that hate Monday like Monday. I don't have to worry about that because, as I said, to me, Monday is another day. I have never, even back when I was in school, thought, man, tomorrow's Monday. To me, there's 7 days in a week, and Monday feels just like Tuesday, just like Wednesday, just like Thursday, just like Friday. I don't see a difference. But anyway, in today's video, we're going to be talking some college basketball because, of course, yesterday the bracket came out for NCAA March Madness. It'll all get underway tomorrow. We have 2 play-in games tomorrow and 2 play-in games on Wednesday. And then, of course, we'll be down to 64 teams. Now, North Carolina missed the tournament, and they were number 1 before the season started. It's the first time since the tournament expanded in 1985 that the team that opened the season at number 1 missed the tournament. And I've got a good friend of mine who is a huge Tar Heel fan, and I told him going into the 2021 season that I had a feeling North Carolina made the wrong hire when they hired Davis. Of course, nobody thought that last year because they ended up struggling for the majority of the regular season and then coming on strong when it mattered and going all the way to the national championship game. But I still say they hired the wrong coach. But the 4 number 1 seeds were Alabama, who was the number 1 overall seed. They're number 1 in the South. Number 1 in the Midwest, Houston. Number 1 in the West, Kansas. And number 1 in the East is Purdue. Now, a lot of Clemson fans are mad because they missed the tournament. And I said a couple of weeks ago here on the channel that they probably wouldn't get in, even though they should. They were 23-10, counting their 2 games in the ACC tournament. And I've seen teams before win 18, 19 games and get in. The reasons why they didn't get in was because they lost to Louisville, who wasn't just bad this year. They were historically, dreadfully bad. And they lost to Loyola, who was terrible in December. And they lost to South Carolina, who was terrible in November. Now, the losses to South Carolina and Loyola shouldn't matter because, yeah, they were bad losses. But college basketball is a long season, and teams can improve, and most teams do improve throughout the season. So a loss in November shouldn't hurt you in March. It's not like college football where you lose a game in September, but the season's over in November. You've only had 2 months. So a lot of people will still hold that loss against you. In college basketball, you lose a game in November and the season goes until March. If your team has shown significant signs of improvement, then a bad loss in November shouldn't matter. Now, the loss to Louisville should matter because it came late in the season, and there was no excuse for that. But even though they did have those 3 terrible losses, that's not why they didn't get in. They didn't get in because of the fact it's Clemson basketball. If Clemson had a history or a tradition in basketball, then the losses to South Carolina and Loyola and Louisville wouldn't have mattered. But when you don't have a tradition in whatever sport it is, and you had those bad losses, it goes against you, and you don't make it. But they had a good team this year despite not getting in. But I'm not going to tell you each and every game you're going to see because, first of all, it would take forever. Second of all, if you've ever watched basketball before, you know that 1 plays 16, 2 plays 15, 3 plays 14, 4 plays 13, and so on. You know that. So when you hear me run down 1 through 16 in each region, you know who's playing who. As I said, the South Alabama is number 1. Arizona, Baylor, Virginia, San Diego State, Creighton, Missouri, Maryland, West Virginia, Utah State, NC State, College of Charleston, Furman, UC Santa Barbara, and Princeton are 2 through 15, and then the play-in game will determine the 16 seed. Midwest, Houston, number 1, followed by Texas. No, not Houston, Texas, but Houston and Texas. 3 seed, Xavier, followed by Indiana, Miami, Iowa State, Texas A&M, Iowa, Auburn, Penn State. The 11 seed will be the play-in game in the Midwest region. Drake, Kent State, Kennesaw State, Toothpaste, and Northern Kentucky is the 16 seed. Out west, we have Kansas, UCLA, Gonzaga, UConn, St. Mary's, TCU, Northwestern, Arkansas, Illinois, Boise State. The play-in game will determine the 11 seed. VCU, Iona, Grand Canyon, UNC Asheville, and Howard is the 16 seed. And then the East region, we have Purdue as the number 1 seed, followed by Marquette, Kansas State, Tennessee, Duke, Kentucky, Michigan State, Memphis, Florida Atlantic, USC is the 10 seed, Providence, Oral Roberts, Louisiana, Montana State, Vermont, and the play-in game will determine the 16 seed. So in the South and the East, the play-in game determines the 16 seed, but in the Midwest and the West, the play-in game determines the 11 seed. And as I said earlier, there'll be 2 play-in games tomorrow and 2 play-in games on Wednesday. It all comes down to, do you play your first game on Thursday or do you play your first game on Friday? Those that play on Thursday will play their play-in game tomorrow, and those that play on Friday play their play-in game on Wednesday. That way you get a day of rest between the games so nobody plays back-to-back days. If you have a job where you're able to take off work, or you have a job where your scheduled off day is on Thursday and or Friday, then this is the time of the year where folks get excited because the first round games start about 12:10 Eastern time on Thursday and Friday, and the games pretty much tip off about every half hour all day long until about 12:30 or 1 o'clock the following morning. So you have right at about 12 straight solid hours of NCAA March Madness. I also know a lot of workplaces that print off the brackets from ESPN or Fox or SB Nation or one of those websites, and the co-workers pass it around, fill it out, and find out who is the best at filling out their brackets. Of course, most people, by the time the first weekend ends, their bracket's already shot, but it is fun to fill those things out. Any thoughts on the March Madness tournament or who you think will win it all? Please feel free to let me know. Homes for Our Troops is a publicly funded 501c nonprofit organization that builds and donates specially adapted custom homes nationwide for severely injured post 9/11 veterans. Since the 2004 inception, nearly 90 cents of every dollar spent has gone directly to our program services for veterans. Visit at hfotusa.org. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. I quit my job as a scuba diving instructor after giving my first lesson. Deep down, I realized it wasn't for me. And that wraps it up for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.